Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Student Development Administrators Update. Appreciate everybody joining us today. And have several different items that we're going to cover this afternoon. I'm glad the Student Services team from the System Office is here to help me provide that presentation. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to change our outline a little bit today, because Dr. Brown, as you may know, is participating and assisting with a press conference that's currently going on, because we do have the selection of the new system president, Dr. Cox, and we're grateful and glad that he's going to be joining us here in the very near future in Raleigh at the system office. And hopefully that recording will come out here soon of that press conference so that we all can enjoy hearing what he had to say and his introductions to the state of North Carolina. But Dr. Brown will be here as soon as he can, probably closer to the end of our time together today. And at that time, he'll talk about developmental education and any other updates that he may have. So as each of you know, we usually send out an opportunity for the colleges to submit agenda items or to submit questions ahead of time. And we want to try to make sure that this meeting is of value for everybody. And so we do those questions and those agenda item requests at the beginning of the presentation. So that way we can make sure that this presentation remains of value and is meeting your needs. So we received 3 different questions that I want to start our presentation with today. The first one has to do with developmental education and whether or not NROC or another placement test is going to be required as a part of that developmental education policy. I quoted in the answer area as a part of that outline there, as you can see on the screen, is that at this time, any kind of placement testing will be at the discretion of the institution. And so you can meet the needs of your students and your local policies as needed, based upon the academic recommendations from the faculty side of the house on what is the best thing to do in order to place students in different courses. So we may have more guidance as the faculty committees begin meeting this summer. We may end up with more guidance around that area, but for right now, the guidance is that you should continue following your current policy or adjust your policies and to promote those and publish those as you should to your students, as all of you do already. I'm going to pause there to see if there's any questions about that answer and about that question. Feel free to put any questions in the chat or to open up your microphone. Terry's got a question here. Hey, Terry. Part of the confusion may be that NCDPI is using NROC EdReady for the SURGE project. Very good point, Terry. Thank you for making that point. Yeah, the SURGE is going to remain the way it is because that's a DPI decision. However, they may revisit that in the future. We don't know for sure. But right now, Surge will remain the same, and you are correct. They will continue to use the NROC/EdReady project. And along those same lines, career CCP will continue as it is. The developmental education is admission into the institution and placement into courses, whereas CCP requirements are eligibility for the program of Career and College Promise. Any other questions? Well, I hope people were able to participate in the last 2 information sessions that were, I believe, just last week that the Developmental Education Council provided. There was some really good information in those reports, and I believe they're going to share their slides, and they will also be sharing their notes from those presentations. Hopefully those will come out this week or next week at the latest. Okay, we'll go on to our next question. Do we know if there is bipartisan support for Senate Bill 419, which is basically setting up a promise program and basically extending the long leave commitment program? We are supporting that, and we are hopeful, just as you guys are, that our minds will be made up by the General Assembly sooner rather than later, which would give you guys plenty of time for advertising and making sure that recent high school graduates know about the program. I don't know that there's any current movement on this bill. However, it's not a dead bill, so it's still a possibility that it could move forward. I provided a couple of links in this slide because I don't know for sure if people are aware that there is information on the internet and specifically on the General Assembly website that can give you updates on where a bill is in the process. So the first link in your slide takes you specifically to Senate Bill 419, but then the second link takes you to a general lookup site to where you can either look up a specific text in a bill or you can look up a specific bill number. There are several very interesting bills being considered in the General Assembly right now, and you may want to track those and see where they are. As a reminder, the bill pretty much has to pass one side of the House and then go to the other chamber before it can then be approved and go on to the governor's office for consideration. So we have a date in the near future. I don't know exactly when it is. I believe it's sometime in May that we call crossover, that when bills that come up in one chamber must cross over and be considered ready for the other chamber to consider. If it doesn't make that crossover, then typically that means that bill will be dead. So that's something you can keep track of using those two links. And like I said, there's several very interesting bills that are on the floor or are in committee that you may want to keep your eye on. The last question that we've received is the system getting ready or any closer to supporting a customer relations management tool statewide? I can say that a committee has been formed, and that committee is considering the feasibility and the possibility of having a convenience contract for everybody across the state. It's still in the very beginning stages of that process, so I wouldn't expect anything anytime soon. However, there is movement there and there is work there. You saw Dr. Hickman jump up on the screen there for a second. He is representing the Student Services side of the House in that project, and either he or I will keep you posted as more information becomes available. So thank you for letting me go through those questions and answers at the very beginning here. And at this time, we'll turn things over to Brenda Burgess to talk to us a little bit about student aid. Brenda, the mic is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. Just a few things today from the student aid side of the house, starting with the Summer Accelerator Grant Program. I want to first and foremost take this opportunity to thank the 53 colleges that have so far returned the Summer Accelerator Grant request form. And just to remind the others that have not, June 1st is the deadline to return this form for our records. And that form is required by the grant program itself. The form was sent to financial aid officers and also copied to business offices as well. So I encourage those remaining colleges to get with each other and send that form back to me at your earliest convenience. Colleges are also encouraged to just assist as many students as possible, same as you did last year. Last year, you all awarded 3,951 students the Summer Accelerator Grant. And also, finally, the grant itself ends September 30 of 2023, unless there's some more surprise funding for the upcoming years. The Golden Leaf Community College Scholarship Program for 23-24, we have received an allocation of $2 million. Sounds like a lot of money, but they've also added 16 more qualifying counties. We're currently working with Golden Leaf to receive our contract, as well as a list of those additional counties. Now, I have heard through the grapevine and hope that I'm not being recorded, but I see that I am. They are going to be adding back some of those counties that they've kind of taken off and owned, Brunswick, Johnston, as well as Pender County. So we're just waiting on the official list, and we'll get that out to you all as soon as we receive it. The North Carolina Scholarship Program Participation Agreement. Of course, you all know the North Carolina Scholarship Program was the Community College Grant and Education Lottery, of course, combined now. But the participation agreement was sent to your college presidents, I think about 2 weeks ago. And I believe that you all are sending them back in as quickly as you can. But if you've got any questions about it, not sure about some of the language on it, we have a financial aid community meeting scheduled for the 26th at 10:30 a.m. This invite was sent to all financial aid administrators. So if you would like to participate in that meeting, certainly get with your financial aid offices, or I'll be happy to send you the meeting link. But it is, we will have Tracy Mitchell from College Foundation of North Carolina and Kevin Lineberry from the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority to answer any questions and provide as much information as possible about that participation agreement. Dr. Kelly, that is all that I have for this time. If there are any questions that you have for me, certainly put them in the chat, shoot me an email, or call me. Thank
Right,
you.
thank you, Brenda. I appreciate that. Any questions for Brenda? While you're thinking, I have received a couple of questions here recently about the NC Scholarship Program and the what we're calling smoothing money, which is funds that are available to for colleges to kind of to hold current students harmless, so to speak, as we transition the program from the current fiscal year to the next fiscal year. We're still waiting for specific information from SEAA and our finance side of the house and some of the senior team members. Once we have that information readily available, we'll get that out to you as quickly as possible. Sorry for the delay. We know we're just trying to build this airplane as we fly, as they say, and we want to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row before we provide any information. Hey, it doesn't look like we have any questions. So thank you, Brenda. I appreciate that update. We'll go ahead and move now to JJ Evans. JJ, what you have for us?
Good afternoon, Dr. Kelly. Thank you for that. Well, first up, I'd like to thank all of our staff and administrators that nominated students for this year's Student Leadership Program. We had a great leadership ceremony this past Saturday where we celebrated our outgoing class. With that, we need a new incoming class of students, and nominations are still open. In fact, we have received a number of requests to extend the deadline, so I'll add a slight cherry on top. And so if our colleges have requested an additional week, so I can extend the deadline to next Friday for our applications, but that's probably as far as I can stretch it due to our leadership program being almost less than a month away. Again, for those who are unfamiliar with our program, our program starts during the summer. It's a week-long program, and this year it'll be at NC State University. Our students stay residentially. A number of questions we also receive deal with, can our younger students or early college or middle college students participate? The answer is yes, as long as the institution and or their parent or guardian approve them to attend. So we're definitely excited to host our new group of student leaders, and feel free to call or email if you have any questions. Flipping to our underserved grant, I think most of you all have already been notified, but if you have not been notified, Miss Annie Jackson is our grants manager for our underserved outreach and advising grant. She will be tracking the monthly statements as well as doing some additional reporting to NC Pro. One of the questions we've already received is expenditure rates for our grant. And so this would be a great time as we near the end of the academic year to look at your current expenditure rate and sort of project how much money you believe you will expend. Of course, we want you to spend every dime you can, but if there is for some reason, if for some reason you are projecting you'll have money or significant portions of your grant remaining, please let us know. Over the summer, we'll put out a feeler just to see how many institutions may have money they would need to reallocate, because the state wants us to spend as close to zero as possible. Lastly, I'll want to thank our student leaders and our Student Government Association for all of the work that they have done, not only for our conferences, but advocating for our student voice. 2 additional opportunities to do that as we close the semester are our 2 town halls. One is this Friday at Fayetteville Tech, and so I'd like to shout out Fayetteville Tech for hosting us. And the next is at Wilkes, and so hopefully we'll have President Cox there as well. I know he's going to be transitioning to the new role, but we'd like to thank the staff at Wilkes for hosting us for the day there as well. And any institutions or students that are within a reasonable driving radius, it is open to all students, faculty, and staff. And really, it's just an opportunity to hear student concerns and continue advocating for our students.
All right. Well, thank you, JJ. I appreciate that. Any questions for JJ? Okay, while you're thinking, I do want to reiterate his comments about the underserved outreach and advising grant. We have a couple other grants, as you are well aware, and we are ramping up the monitoring on the long leave complete, the long leave commitment as far as the student support services grant. And we're just really wanting to make sure that we maximize all of those monies. So please keep an eye on those spending rates to make sure you're on target to spend all your money. And if you don't think you are, please reach out to that grant manager so that way we could possibly reallocate that money to another institution that could use those funds. Any questions for JJ? Hey, not seeing or hearing any, so we'll go ahead and move on. I don't know if Allison was able to join us today or not. Allison, were you able to join us about Finish Line Grant? No, I didn't think she was going to be able to, but I wanted to give her a chance to speak if she was here. So the first link there is just a link to the Finish Line Grants page. We want to also remind you that your institution has been awarded administrative funds. So please consider how you can make sure you use those administrative funds for the Finish Line Grant. If you have questions about funding, sorry, I can't get the word out. If you have questions about eligible funding costs or eligible expenses, please feel free to contact Allison or myself, and we can help you work through that. We just want to make sure, again, that we don't leave any money on the table and that you are aware of all the resources that are available for you with the Finish Line Grant. There's some estimates there as far as what has been done to date. And we just, like the other grants, if it looks like things are not going to be, or monies are not going to be awarded, and you have more than you're going to be able to use, then we're going to start working on a reallocation process to make sure all the funds are awarded and to as many people as possible across the state. Any questions about Finish Line Grant? Okay, we'll move on. Monty Hickman.
They are really quiet today, it looks like, with all the questions. Good afternoon, community college families. Good to see you all. We've been talking about enrollment management planning for a while, and luckily the contract has been signed. For those who are new, we've been talking about this since last year, but it takes a while for our procurement process in North Carolina to go through. So we have contracted with Noel Levitt's RNL to do the training. And so we're going to start, I think, and the reason I say I think, we have tentative dates because we have not yet contacted the presidents to let them know. But just to let you know, our tentative dates are May 30th and 31st for the first set of sessions. We're looking at September the 12th and 13th for the second set of sessions, and November the 7th and 8th for the final set of sessions. So these trainings are going to be offered virtually for the first set and face-to-face for the second and third set. And so we hope you'll get a lot out of this training. And Noel Levitt's are one of the country's greatest experts at enrollment management. So we think you'll get some good information. Just prior to the training, though, we'll say a survey will go out to you all just to give Noel RNL a some kind of assessment of where you are as a college, whether you have a plan or don't have a plan, and or whether you're a small or larger college. So that should go out shortly. Also, we're working on a letter for the president, so they'll be informed of this. And I see lots of questions now popping up now that I'm talking. So just know that we're prepared and ready and really excited about this enrollment management training we're having coming up.
Yes, so can you repeat those dates for us, Monty?
All right, and I'll put it in the chat too when I finish.
Oh,
We're looking
perfect.
at the 2 virtual sessions being in May on the 30th and 31st. We're looking at the 2 face-to-face dip sessions for September the 12th for the West and September the 13th for the East. And then we're looking at November the 7th for the West, and I'm sorry, November the 7th for the West and November 8th for the East. I'll send out an email to everyone with the location and times and dates and everything else with more detail on it.
Excellent. And yeah, and that would be great if you could throw those in the chat box, Monty.
Yes, sir. And those are
Oh.
tentative because we've yet to contact the president. So until we contact the presidents, everything is now tentative.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions for Monty? See, Brian had a question about the Finish Line Grant, and just in case we have people on the telephone, I want to make sure they heard what the answer was, is when does the funding for the Finish Line Grant end? We will transition this year, probably sometime this summer, to a new funding source. However, we expect that the Finish Line Grant is to be funded through the summer of 2024. So we are not expecting it to end anytime soon. Probably based upon utilization and any student success measures that we might be able to provide is whether or not it will be funded after summer 2024. But right now we think we have funding in place through summer 2024. Lisa has a question, Monty. I think this is in your world. Any update on the new CFNC application for high school students?
Is that regarding the CCP application?
I would think so, yes.
We've made some updates. The admissions task force met with CFNC a couple of months ago and made the corrections based on what the colleges asked for. Are there any more updates that you're looking for, Lisa?
Monty, I'm just interested in knowing the timeline for implementation.
Okay. And Sonia Bartley and Brian McCullough said send them an email with that request so they can give you the timeline, because I will say that CFNC and the system office team have worked very well together lately. And so Sonia and Brian have been working on those updates.
Right. Any more questions for Monty? And thank you, Sonia, and thank you, Brian, for being great partners. We really appreciate your help on lots of different things, but definitely on the CFNC application too. So thank you. We appreciate that. All right, then we'll move on. Trudy Hughes, what you got for us, Doc?
Well, hello there, everybody. I have just a couple things. We are starting pilot number 2 with the Abler group, myself and Dr. Alvera. And we have 50 slots for new people, and we're also incorporating some people that completed the modules in pilot 1 to provide them with more resources. So we have about 10 slots left. And we're hoping that people will email either myself or Dr. Alvaro. We're looking for teams again, consisting of continuing education because it is being paid by Perkins 5, disability services, workforce development, and employers. So any other colleges that are still interested, we are still taking names because we don't have all of the 50 slots filled yet. We have about 37. So we have about 10 slots left. We also had a meeting last week. Lydia Mayer from the system office with UNC provided a webinar on the question, persuade, and refer, which is also known as the QPR funding. Each college is able to request up to $25,000 for one of 2 trainings or a combination of both, depending on their needs. And that information went out by Dr. Kelly, along with the pricing for manuals. There's the due date for the request for the 25,000 up to 25,000 is April 28th. And that's the cutoff. So we couldn't extend it any longer. So anybody interested in that, and that is a suicide prevention. That's a different from mental health first aid. It really focuses specifically on suicide. Okay. And last but not least, Disability in a Day. That is June 5th, and that will be at Central Piedmont in Charlotte. And brain freeze right there. It's in Charlotte. And I will be sending out an agenda. I will also tomorrow will be sending out the registration. We've sent it out a couple weeks ago, but I will resend it out to the listservs for anybody that's interested in attending that conference. The price is only $35, and we have a packed day of guest speakers, keynotes, and a lot of information coming your way. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy. I appreciate that. And just a reminder on the QPR, everyone, is Trudy and I are serving more as the liaisons to that project. All the funding requests and all the information really resides in the UNC system office. We'll be here as best as we can to help you guys out, but all the paperwork and the approval has to go to the UNC system. So any questions for Trudy while you have us? Okay, not seeing any, not hearing any. Thank you, Trudy. I appreciate it. We'll go ahead and go to our next person, our newest doctor on the team. Trying to embarrass you just a little bit. Congratulations to you. What do you have for us, Jennifer?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. As always, I'm all about advising. So our Advising Leadership Academy is going to graduate this Thursday at Johnston Community College. So I'm really proud of those graduates. As always, we had a really great team, and they were really good about providing feedback and asking for what their needs were. And so I was able to find some professional development to meet those needs. So as always, I just really enjoy these academies. And so once graduation wraps up, I will begin planning for next year. I've already got a tentative plan, so I wanted to give you a heads up. So our cohort, usually it will start in fall of 2023, but I will actually release the application in early summer, and I will send it to the listserv, so you should see it. Just kind of wanted to give you a heads up. You know, if you have any advisors in mind that you might want to make sure apply for this, and also if you want to share it with any of your faculty colleagues that advise, I would really appreciate it. We do only have about 20 to 25 slots, so not everyone is able to participate. So just make sure, you know, if you were not accepted last year, that you continue to encourage your staff to apply. And the next one was just an announcement about the N3C2A conference that's going to be May 31st through June 2nd. That one is going to be held at AB Tech, and I'm actually going to put the website in the chat just in case you wanted more information. Registration is still open, and looking forward to it. I think that's all I have for today. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Any questions about, for Jennifer about advising and coaching and so forth? All right, not seeing any, and thank you for putting in the chat there, the information concerning the conference. And thank you, Jennifer, and we'll go ahead and move on. I just have a couple of things that I want to update you on. And that is the Amanda Toller, who's the Director of Compliance Services. She's going to be holding several different trainings, and I just want to make sure that those are highlighted for you. You probably have already received the email and you may know about it. But that's really the main thing that I wanted to highlight for you guys today. You can see there the dates and the locations for the compliance services trainings on your screen. Please, if you want more information about that, please email her directly, and her email address is there at the bottom of the slide. I think I understand how important it is for us to get information from that team when we can to help us to make sure we're doing things as expected in student services. So I don't know if we have anybody on the group from NCBAA, but we typically ask to see if they have any updates for us or any information they want to share. So we'll pause here a second to see if they're available to share anything with us today.
Hi, I'm here. Keisha's
Oh,
here.
hey, Keisha, good to see you.
Good to see you as well. As you all know, Dr. Smith is no longer at Pitt, so I'm not real sure who their new president is, but I will look into that. As of now, the Central North Carolina chapter, I'm in a space of where I need to recruit a whole new board. I recently was asked to sit on the national board for the National Council on Black American Affairs, and we're trying really hard to revitalize all of the chapters across the United States and within the Southern region, which is where we sit. So we will be hosting a series of informational sessions from a national perspective. And with a lot that is going on with diversity, equity, and inclusion in legislation across the US, we are also going to begin working on ways that colleges can work within some of the structures that they may legally have to work in now that legislation is coming down. So for anyone that's interested in being active in NCBAA in any capacity, may it be in a chapter or from a national perspective, please send me an email. The email there is the best email to be able to reach me. And this summer, I will be sending out information related to recruiting individuals to take over the Central North Carolina chapter. As many of you know, I am in a lot of pots, and this is a pot that I will stay in, but I do not necessarily want to lead just because of bandwidth. So if anybody is interested in becoming the president for the Central North Carolina chapter, please let me know. But again, information will be coming out in this summer, because from a national perspective, we are trying to streamline things for all chapters across the US.
Thank you, Keisha. I appreciate that. And I would echo what she has said, and maybe even say it a little more broader, is involvement in these professional associations benefits you in your professional growth, but also has an opportunity for you to expand the breadth of your influence to help grow leaders in this case, but then to also serve more and more people in North Carolina and some places across the nation. So I really encourage you to step up and get involved in a place where you're passionate and where you have professional expertise. And this is one of those areas where you could really step up. So Keisha, thank you for your service and all the work you've been doing. I really appreciate it. Any questions for Keisha? Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. Thanks for letting me put you on the spot. And then Candace has a question in the chat box, which takes us back a screen. And that's the registration information sent out about the compliance training. I believe that email was sent to your president, which is why I wanted to make sure I highlighted it here today, because I don't think it went out to the vice presidents. So please email Amanda Toller for more information about how to register. But I think the dates were just announced in the most recent president's meeting. So we'll go ahead and go on now to the NCSDAA, and I don't think Michael is available today. Yes, there he is. Good, Michael's here. So Michael, any updates for us from SDAA?
Thanks, JW. I just want to thank everybody that participated in our joint conference that we had back at the end of March. It was a great time. Over 200 people attended that, and so again, thank you for coming. If you did, if you weren't able to make it, or if you wanted to see some of the presentations, we have those available on our website. I just put that in the chat there, and so you can find some of those presentations there. The major news for today is that I just want to support my good buddy Sabrina Terry and the N3 CSDPA. JW will talk more about that in a second, but they have a great summer conference coming up in June. Learn more about that and JW's next bit here. And so thank you all. Appreciate you, and have a good graduation season as we enter that.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, that's true. Graduation season is upon us. All the pinnings and all the different graduations. So thank you for sharing, Michael. It's Sabrina that I don't think is able to attend today, but she said one of the officers of the N3C SDPA might be able to share today. Is that true?
Hey, JW. Yeah, Sabrina sent me. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I know sometimes my mic has some issues.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. So we are an umbrella organization for student services throughout the state, and really encourage professional development and networking, along with collaboration. And one of the things we talked about in our last officers meeting was just the confusion that kind of has continued with SDAA and the N3C SDPA. So Sabrina wanted me to share kind of some sample, I guess, job titles of people we're hoping to encourage to be a part of the N3C, which is really more for mid-level professionals and entry-level professionals. So if you're a dean or a VP, we're not going to kick you out. You know, you're still welcome to join us. We're a pretty open organization, but we do want to make sure that this organization is inclusive of our people who have just started in their career, maybe at the midway point. So that would be people with titles that could include technician, coordinator, director, counselor, advisor, anything in that realm. It doesn't have to be that exact title, but just to give everyone an idea of kind of what this organization is about. It's really about bringing people up along the leadership ladder and trying to help people, whether they're at the beginning of their career or the midway point. So we have a fabulous conference that we are in the process of planning for June 22nd and 23rd, and it'll be downtown Wilmington. The theme, of course, will be changing tides, since we're at the beach. And we are also excited because some of the hotels, I think, have got a pretty good state rate. So right around $100 is what we were able to find for some of the hotels, which Wilmington in summer, that's a pretty good deal. So I would encourage everyone, and I know Sabrina wanted me to encourage you all, if you have entry-level staff who you feel like would be interested in this, or mid-level staff, please pass this along. We really want to make this organization for everyone in those roles throughout the state. And this is our first conference that we've had in person. I want to say in years. I know it's been at least 5, 6, 7 years pre-COVID. I know during COVID we had an online conference, but this is the first one where we'll be able to get everybody together in person. So we really want to have strong attendance, and I'll throw the conference registration in the chat along with some information about the N3CS DPA, but feel free to reach out to myself or Sabrina if you guys have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. That would be great. And yes, I remember when I first came into the system, the N3C SDPA had some very wonderful, huge conferences across the state, and was some of the best professional development I was involved in. So I'm glad to see things ramping back up again. And I'm sure that as travel budgets allow. And our mission, I'm sure it will have a great turnout. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for that information. Our next meetings, the next meeting we have is actually coming up here pretty soon. And that will be Dr. Brown's, or the Chief Academic Officer, update meeting, which will be all the programs and student services from the system office. And of course, this last page is just the contact information for everybody on the student services team. At this time, I'm going to pause for a second to see if you guys have any other questions for me or for anybody on the student services team.
They're shy today.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit.
But JW, can I throw out a plug
Sure, please do.
then since so from a student success center perspective, on Friday, I notified many of you and others that the 23-24 Equity Coach Academy applications are now open. If anyone is interested in being trained or have someone on your campus trained to become an equity coach, I will drop my email my system office email in the chat. So if you're interested, I can send you the application if you don't have it. But I am only recruiting 20 people. So please let me know. We've had the luxury of recruiting 40 people so far. So I'm looking forward to this next cohort of folks.
Yeah, thank you, Keisha. Thank you. I appreciate that. I probably should start partnering with the Student Success Center in the future to see if they have any updates or slides for this group. That's a good idea. So I don't think Dr. Brown's been able to join us, which is not too much of a surprise given the press conference that's currently going on. The one thing that I do want to highlight on his slide is if you're not receiving the newsletters on a regular basis, you can see the link there to sign up for the email for the co-ed. Even though it says RISE there, just kind of ignore that. That is the sign up for the developmental education newsletter listserv. So you probably want to get that information. The other link is to the current documentation that you can find about developmental education on their Google Drive. And so you can see that there at this link as well. I think the only thing that I'll share about developmental ed is that the co-leaders are planning to set up regularly scheduled office hours in the very near future. So keep your eyes open in your inbox to find out when those office hours are. So that way you will know when you can log on virtually to ask any questions that you might have concerning developmental education. The big work that will be happening next, as far as our efforts in developmental ed, is that faculty teams are being formed to review and to consider the content of the current co-requisite / prerequisite developmental education courses. Those faculty teams will be working this summer. So I would expect a lot more information to come out mid to into summer about developmental education. Besides that, that's about all I know that I can share at this time concerning DevEd, but I would be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have. I'll pause there. And Monty, I see your hand. I'll get to you in a second.
Okay.
Not hearing any questions or seeing any pop up. So Monty, what do you have for us?
I'm glad you mentioned emails. I'm getting an increased requests to be added to our listservs. So just to let everyone know, if you have new staff members from admissions, financial aid registrars, and they need to be added to the CC list, please contact your system administrators on your campus. I'm getting a lot of requests here at the system office to be added to all of our listservs, and we do not do that here. So you need to contact your IT person at your campus.
Excellent. Thank you, Monty.
Thank you.
Okay, last call for any questions anybody may have for us today. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate it. I'll stop the recording and kind of hang out in the hallway, as they say, if you have any other questions. Otherwise, thank you for everything you do to serve our students. And we at the System Office will continue to strive to serve you as you serve them. You guys have a great afternoon. Bye.